You know, as I was told I needed to do this, I tried to find like a quote or some inspirational music or something inspiring. So I went online and I searched and I found a great quote that I really like, and I want to read it for you right now. It's this: "My dad didn't tell me how to live. He lived and he let me watch him do it." And I've lived with my dad. You know, I lived with him for 18 years. And then, you know, in the last 4 or 5 since I've gone to college and graduated college, you know, I haven't been able to spend as much time with my dad, but every month or two we get together, and I get to watch more and observe more of how he lives his life. And I've learned some things. Like, for example, if you want an actual working description of what hell is, it's located just above Bass Lake in a camping ground with no amenities whatsoever, and a little, yeah. Anyway, other things I've learned from my dad is that it actually is possible to consistently miss a basketball hoop from 10 feet away or less when he invented his skyhook that always sailed clear over the hoop. I learned the importance of using the word "if" when teaching at a church that I don't regularly attend and having you guys attend, and using you as an example but forgetting to say, "if my dad were an alcoholic." And finally, I learned from my dad that when you park your car in a parking lot and you go to open your door, make sure you look and make sure that no one else is parking in the stall next to you, because that doesn't turn out well for you. But I've learned a lot of other things about my dad. And from watching my dad, like I will never forget the day I walked in to Luke's middle school crab feed to raise money for his school. And I looked everywhere to try and find my dad. And those of you that know my dad know he's very bubbly guy. He likes to be. He ends up being the MC of things, and he's real funny. And I couldn't find my dad. I was looking for all the leadership positions I could find, and it wasn't until I went into the very backmost room that I opened the door and found my dad soaked in sweat because he'd been doing dishes for 4 hours. And I looked at him, I said, "What are you doing here?" And he looks at me and he goes, and I'll never forget him saying this, he goes, "Josh, when I don't know what to do, when I show up at something and no one gives me a job, I just find the lowest job I can find and I do it to the best of my ability." Or another thing I've learned is that when you told us that you'd never leave Mom, that you weren't kidding. You taught me through your life that it's important to invest in others, as is shown here today by so many of you who my dad has had the opportunity to invest in. And most importantly, you've shown me what it looks like to be a man of God, a man who literally lets his life be defined by a belief in a God who loves him, and who lets that shape the way he lives. Doesn't just go and say that he believes in it. He actually lives it. Dad, thanks for all the times you supported me. You came out and played sports you didn't like and spent time with me. You played video games that you weren't really good at. You sat and you gave me dating advice even though you hadn't dated in a lot of years. And you were always right, and that really frustrated me. For those of you that don't know much about me, I'm currently a youth pastor in the Fresno area. And a lot of times I have kids come up to me and they say, "Hey Josh, here's what I got going on in my life." And it's a real joy to get to talk to some of these kids. But when kids start talking to me about how they go home and they just have a terrible home life, I always feel bad because I can't sympathize with them. I was raised by two of the best parents there are. And I can tell you that it is rare to find a man who sticks to his commitments. It's rare to find a man who lives his life to love God first and others second. And Dad, it's rare to find a dad that actually spends time with his kids and tells them he loves them. Thank you for doing that for me. Thank you for modeling the commitment to Mom that I will one day soon here get to model to my future spouse. And thank you for modeling to me what a dad looks like so that one day I can model that to my kids. And thanks for being my biggest fan in life. I love you so much. Next we have my second oldest brother,